All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Be seated. Mr. Court Officer, please call the case.
Good morning, Your Honors. This is the file number KCBC 2020-06, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Thaçi, Kadir Seli, Recep Selimi, and Thaçi. Thank you, Your Honors.
Today we will continue hearing the evidence of Thaçi defense witness 1DW004. Yesterday I asked the SPO to present a long list of exhibits to us in writing, and I believe everybody has received an email with that. The email was dated 2 October at 8:09. Let me just ask in general, first of all, is there any objection to the documents listed?
No objection.
No objection is heard. The list as submitted will be admitted into evidence. Then, Mr. Court Officer, you can advise us later as to the numbers for these. You want to do it now? Okay, all right.
Your Honors, thank you so much. From SITF 00001529 to 00001871, pages SITF 00001531, SITF 00001532, SITF 00001533, and SITF 00001535 will be added to already assigned Exhibit P00743.2. ERN 068429 to 068434 will be assigned Exhibit number P04506, and the range 052690 to 052841, in particular pages 052690, and then the rate, my apologies, I'll start again. So pages 052690, 052694, and 052746 to 052749 will be assigned Exhibit number P04507. And if I may ask for the clarification for the classification, please.
It can be public.
Reclassified as public for all of them.
Your Honor, if I may clarify, for Exhibit P04503 can be classified as public.
All right, it's reclassified as public. Madam Court Usher, you may bring the witness in. For the record, the accused are all present in court today. About how much time do you suppose you will have?
I would like to finish around the 10 o'clock break.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Kobe. Today we're going to continue your testimony. I remind you to please try to answer the questions clearly with short sentences. If you don't understand a question, feel free to ask counsel to repeat the question or tell them you don't understand and they will clarify. Also, please remember to try to indicate the basis of your knowledge of the facts and circumstances upon which you will be questioned. I remind you that you are still under an obligation to tell the truth as stated by you in your solemn declaration. Also, please remember to speak into the microphone and wait 5 seconds before answering a question, and then speak at a slow pace for the interpreters to catch up. And as always, if you feel the need to take a break, just let us know and we will accommodate you. Mr. Misitich will continue now. Please give him your attention.
Thank you.
Mr. Misitich, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Kobe.
Good morning.
I'd like to start with several questions that you were asked yesterday by the prosecutor about Mr. Thaçi's relationship to the KLA, and you were also shown an excerpt from General Jackson's book about a meeting he had with Mr. Thaçi prior to the meeting with General Clark that you discussed in your testimony. Do you recall those questions?
I really do. I do.
I would like to start by taking you back to your witness statement. Mr. Court Officer, could we please put on the screen 1D00390, please? And if we could please go to page 12 of this document, which is paragraph 65. We scroll down. Here you say, "It was clear to me that Mr. Thaçi's connection with the battle-hardened KLA veterans was thread-like, and further, that he was very careful not to pull so hard on that thin tissue that it would rupture. It was rare, but occasionally he seemed to be attempting to represent KLA interests, at least rhetorically, or act as a go-between." And then you cite an example in which Mr. Thaçi relayed the KLA intent to form an army at the end of the demilitarization process. If we could go to page 81, paragraph 81, which is page 15 in this document. Here you say, "My observations led me to conclude that Mr. Thaçi had the ambition and goal to become a politician and leader in Kosovo, and he knew he needed to cooperate with UNMIK to get there. While he initially acted as a go-between for KLA interests, it is worth noting that these instances tapered off as he slowly gained legitimate standing in his own right." And finally, at provisional transcript page 138, yesterday, you said, "I hope we can also address some of the instances in which Mr. Thaçi appeared to advocate on behalf of, though we could say carry water for the KLA." My question for you is, can you please provide us with some instances of Mr. Thaçi acting as a go-between, as you said in your statement, or carrying water for the KLA?
Objection, Your Honor. This is beyond the scope. I never discussed specifically this part of the statement with the witness regarding him being a go-between. Should counsel be allowed to ask this question, I will be seeking to ask further questions.
I disagree, Mr. President. She specifically asked about Mr. Thaçi meeting with General Jackson on the eve of the meeting with General Clark.
Objection's overruled. Go ahead.
Your Honor, if I may, that's completely separate from him acting as a go-between
I've already
for the
ruled
killer.
on, I've ruled on it, Ms. Iudice.
I believe we, yesterday, or within these proceedings, we looked at a document that Mr. Thaçi sent to Bernard Kouchner requesting sidearms for certain officials of former KLA. And we noted at the time, for our own, in our own judgment, it was an absolute non-starter, but that we felt he was simply carrying water. He was running, even a bit ostentatiously running an errand to keep his skirts clean with people he wouldn't want to offend. He never followed up on it. He never used that request as leverage, that is saying, I won't do this unless you grant me this thing I asked. And we felt that that kind of behavior cropped up a number of times. I would include in that, in my judgment, the episode that was described in Mike Jackson's book. This was very late in the game. Mr. Thaçi had not much participated in the negotiations between K4 and the leaders of the KLA movement. It does not in the least surprise me that he felt the need to register his strong support of the position of the KLA leadership. Whether he expected it to succeed or not, at the time, I can only guess. But his peremptory demand that Jackson go downtown to meet him was, at the time, this is a very serious matter, but it was almost laughable. But this is a young man feeling his way through, a bit impetuously, a situation in which he had no real experience. So we were not surprised. I would call this credentialing. And I would put in the same category the story that I was not aware of at the time, the report that he carried some munitions across the mountains. I have not seen any evidence that this was a regular practice, but to do it once for a young, ambitious man feeling his way through, of course he would do this to credential himself. So I don't think that in any way undermines our judgment about his relationship with the KLA commanders, the field commanders. Nor does it contradict the things that he said in public, on the record, advocating for nonviolence and the protection of minorities.
Sorry, thank you. Yes, and turning to a different topic, at the request of a Rule 107 provider, Mr. President, could we go into private session?
Private session, please, Mr. Court Officer.
Your Honor, we're back in public session. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Covey, yesterday you were shown videos by the prosecutor of Mr. Thaçi and Mr. Cheku attending rallies where KLA or ex-KLA persons were present, excuse me. Do you recall those videos?
Yes.
I would like to take you back to paragraph 72 of your statement, and if we could go to 1D00390, please, at page 13. And here at paragraph 72, you say, Mr. Thaçi's instincts and pretense to power may have been politically useful before Kosovar audiences, but they were misunderstood by some within the human rights community, including human rights specialists in UNMIK, who inaccurately concluded, based on Mr. Thaçi's efforts to portray himself as a leader, that he actually had the power to control violence perpetrated by elements of what always had been a highly decentralized and now former KLA. For all of us on the ground, it was clear that Mr. Thaçi's ambition far outstripped his actual influence over the KLA. Can you tell us whether the videos you were shown yesterday of Mr. Thaçi at rallies with ex-KLA members leads you to reconsider anything about what you said in paragraph 72 of your statement?
It does not change my view. I would see that in much the same way that we just described some other incidents. It's an essential credentialing activity. It's what ambitious politicians do. They associate themselves with elements whose support they think they need for their own purposes, whether they have any actual influence or not.
Thank you. Turning to a different topic. Yesterday at transcript page 116, you mentioned that you delivered talking points to General Cheku, and at transcript page 114, you said that they were different than the talking points that you gave to, or that were prepared for Mr. Thaçi. Can you tell us what were the talking points for General Cheku?
I think they are, I'm not sure I can tell you off the top of my head, but I think we have a document that displays the talking points we prepared both for Bernard Kouchner with Mr. Thaçi and a different set of points that I was to use with General Cheku.
Well, at transcript page 116, lines 24 to 25, you said, and I'll quote, "I note with some concern that we skipped very quickly over the talking points that I did deliver to General Cheku." Is there anything else you wanted to add that you weren't able to add yesterday?
An essential difference between the points was that General Cheku was by that time the commandant of the KPC. Technically, it was the nascent KPC because it had not been fully organized yet, a point that General Cheku had to remind me of when I pressed him to take action. But we did not, Mr. Thaçi at that point had no role whatsoever in the KPC, and we did not want in the course of this exercise to in any way give him the impression that we believed he had any role with the KPC. Now that's as distinct from any question about influence over former KLA leadership. That topic we've already discussed. But this was a bit of a formality. although New York expected us to deliver the same message to both of these leaders, we also recognized that New York was viscerally anti-KPC. It took them a long time to accept that this was a wise exercise in DDR. So we thought they were unwise to suggest that we should simply deliver the same broadside both to Mr. Thaçi and to Mr. Chekhov.
Yes, and you mentioned yesterday at transcript page 111, line 9, that when speaking with the prosecutor about the démarche, you said there is a backstory to this. Is that the backstory, or is
Yes.
there anything else?
Yes,
That's the backstory?
yes.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to take you to another document that was shown to you by the prosecutor. This is P04127, please. And if we could go to, this is a document dated 20 September 1999 that you were shown yesterday. And if we could go, it's a weekly situation report. And if we can go to page 4, PDF page 4. And if we scroll to the bottom, starting under comment, and then we'll go on to the next page. You were shown this excerpt yesterday, and it was read out to you, and so I'll do it again. It says, the completion of the undertaking leads to consideration of two dilemmas. First, local hardliners associated with the interim government have begun to act increasingly boldly. Next page, please. With apparent support by Hashim Thaçi's press statements from UNHQ in New York. If we go down a little bit in the middle at the sentence that begins, on the other hand, few people in Prizren seem prepared to stand up publicly in opposition to their efforts to narrow the political community with repression and terror against former collaborators, always accused but never proven with the Yugoslav regime. Do you recall seeing this passage yesterday?
Yes.
And in an exchange with the prosecutor at provisional transcript, page 97, lines 2 to 12, you were asked, do you remember at the time whether you were briefed about such developments in the municipalities? And your answer was, I believe that around this time there were numerous reports similar to this. I can't speak to the specific document, but it was a concern. Again, I hope we can speak to the context. So I'd like to give you an opportunity now if you have anything to add about the context.
I spoke earlier about the larger effort to implement the mission, and the paradox is that we were presented with ugly acts apparently taking place on the ground. And a wish on the part of some in our mission that we should respond immediately, emphatically, decisively, and as if we were a fire station addressing each blaze. We knew we did not have the resources to do that. And at the same time, we also knew that until we had the resources, we could not demonstrate to a population like this that peace paid, that following the path laid out by UNMIC would have social, political, moral rewards. This is always a challenge for a peacekeeping operation. So it was very frustrating, both for us. We were not ignorant of these kinds of incidents, but I don't know how else to say it. We couldn't address each one singly. We had to address the situation as a whole in a way that inch by inch would move the attitudes of the general public forward. And it's what's described in this report makes clear that in that locale at that time, the public had not yet grasped that peace would pay for them.
Thank you. Mr. Covey, I'd like to turn to another topic that was discussed with you yesterday, and that is General Reinhardt's book. You were shown several excerpts. I'd like to show you different excerpts of the book. Mr. Court Officer, if we could have, please, SPOE 400-15904 to SPOE 400-16230, ET, revised, partial, combined, and in the German, well, unfortunately, I don't have the German citations for the panel, so thank you.
If I may be of assistance, the ERNs are the same.
Oh, good, okay. Then the same ERN range in the German. Thank you. And if we could go, please, to page SPOE 400-15949, which should be page 91. No, I mean 91 in the PDF, right? No? Oh, this is it. Okay, sorry. Hold on a second. Mr. Court Officer, in the English, it should be the next page, I believe. Sorry. Back one page and then to the right-hand side of the page. I don't know where the confusion is. It's not the right SPO, the ERN number. The ERN page should be SPOE 400-15949.
I believe the ending should be of the AT should be revised combined.
Mr. Court Officer, if it assists, I believe the document that you had on the screen, it should be PDF page 7. Yes, that's it. And if we look to the right-hand, on the left-hand side document, and then on the right-hand column, yes, if we scroll over, there, General Reinhardt writes, we then turn to Kosovo's political future. I make it clear that the international community would not accept a purely Albanian and independent Kosovo. Thaçi speaks of Kosovo's multi-ethnic future and assures me that the Serbs remaining in the country would not be expelled. I emphasize that financial aid from the West can only be secured through peaceful coexistence, as called for in UNSCR 1244, which Thaçi fully accepts. We discussed the tense situation in Orahovac in detail, and I ask him for his recommendation for a peaceful solution. Thaçi makes it clear that the people there are afraid of the Russians, who must not be allowed access to the city under any circumstances. However, he sees an opportunity to station them near the city. My first question, Mr. Covey, is that approach that Mr. Thaçi is recorded as having taken here with General Reinhardt consistent with your own understanding of how Mr. Thaçi approached multi-ethnic coexistence?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, I have several pages. I don't know if you want me to go page by page to seek admission or just wait to the end. Okay,
Whether you did it page by page, if you would.
I will. Then, Mr. President, I tender this page and ask that it be added to P04497, and that's SPOE 400-15949.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, but if we could also include the beginning that shows the date of this entry for completeness.
When you say the beginning, you mean the whole page or the previous page?
I believe it would be in the previous page. I can't see now if it's included here.
That's fine then. SPOE 400-15948 and 49.
SPOE 400-15948 and 49 is admitted.
It will be added to already assigned exhibit number P04497, which is currently classified as public. Thank you, Your Honor.
If we could go to the next page in this document, which is SPOE 400-15950. And if we can scroll, zoom in a little bit on the left-hand column there in the English. He writes, we then discuss the domestic political situation. Thaçi declares that he is willing to find a compromise with Ibrahim Rugova and the other political leaders to improve cooperation with Kushner and the Kosovo Executive Council. I am satisfied with the outcome of this first meeting with Hashim Thaçi. We established a good and personal rapport. The meeting was constructive and opened the door for our future collaboration. However, I'm still not able to assess this man. He is very smooth. I had just seen off Hashim Thaçi when Ibrahim Rugova arrived with his interpreter. His his description there of Mr. Thaçi, is that a description with which you agree?
Yes. Now, let's not, Mr. Thaçi developed over time.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender this page as well, SPOE 400159950, and ask that it be added to P04497.
Any objection?
And
No, Your Honor.
SPOE 400159950 is admitted and will be added as requested.
can you remind me then the date of this entry?
What was the date?
Thank you, Your Honors. This page will be then added to P04497. Thank you.
It is 9 October 1999.
On October, and, oh, that's right, he was just beginning his tour, so that would be his first meeting with Thaçi. I see.
Yes.
Okay, so this is, I think you can ignore my reference to developing. Thaçi had come a long way by that time.
Thank you. If we could please go 7 pages up to page 957, please. Sorry, it should be SPOE 400159957. Yes, that's it. And on the right-hand side of the English. He says, and this is the 13th of October, 1999. He says, "It is interesting to hear that the political leaders of all parties and ethnic groups unanimously pledge their support for a multi-ethnic Kosovo and for close cooperation to ensure a more peaceful future. They condemn the use of physical violence and argue for greater autonomy for Kosovo rather than its independence. All Albanian leaders declare their willingness to participate in Kushner's executive council, his future government. Hashim Thaçi emphatically advocates an apolitical, entirely civilian, and multi-ethnic Kosovo Protection Corps, whose mission would be to assist in the rebuilding of the country and to protect the Kosovars from disasters. Like me, Kofi Annan and Bernard Kouchner can hardly believe all the positive things they are hearing. We hope that these shrewd politicians really mean what they are saying." Is what General Reinhardt writes here consistent with what you were hearing at the time from Kosovo Albanian leaders, including Mr. Thaçi?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender this page into evidence, SPOE 400159957, and ask that it be added to P04497.
Objection?
No, Your Honor.
SPOE 400159957 is admitted and will be added as requested.
Thank you, Your Honors, and will be added to P04497. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, could we now move to page SPOE 400159968, please? And I'm going to show you an excerpt from the 20th of October, 1999. Yes, and on the right-hand side in English, he writes, "Thaçi demands that the university in Mitrovica be opened to everyone. He says that Albanian students have a right to study there. He demands full freedom of movement for all Kosovars in North Mitrovica. He proposes that urgent steps be taken to upgrade the inadequate infrastructure of the University of Mitrovica in order to make it accessible to all students. Hajrizi, the Deputy Prime Minister in Thaçi's transitional government, supports this proposal and calls on UNMIK to mediate between the Albanian and Serbian students. The ghettoization of North Mitrovica must be avoided. Kushner agrees to mediate and refers to the negotiations we have conducted so far in this regard. Do you recall there being an tension at the university in Mitrovica in October of 1999?
Yes, there was tension in almost every aspect, almost everything touching on the status of Mitrovica.
Was Mr. Thaçi advocating for all students to be treated equally?
Yes, though that was clearly a challenging notion. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. President, I tender SPOE 40015968 and ask that it be added to P04497, please.
Objection.
No, Your Honor.
SPOE 40015968 is admitted and will be added to P04497.
If we, sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. If we could please, Mr. Court Officer, have SPOE 40016107. PDF page 63, I believe. Yes. This is from the 13th of February, 2000. He writes, late at night, I meet Hashim Thaçi, who appears worn out and exhausted. He assures me that the Albanians had no interest in attacking KFOR. He distances himself from the incidents, but at the same time points out that his ability to influence external forces is limited. Nevertheless, he promises to do everything he can during the night to stabilize the situation. He himself seems shocked by what has happened in Mitrovica. Is this passage consistent with your experience with Mr. Thaçi in terms of trying to lower tensions?
Yes, including the admission that he has limited influence.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender SPOE 40016107 and ask that it be added to P04497, please.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor. Could we please add also the page ending 6105 that has the date for the entry?
Yes, that's fine.
All right, SPOE 4006105 and 6107 is admitted and added to PO 4497.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Turning to a different book, Mr. Covey, this is your book, and you were shown page 100 of the book, admitted as P04496.2, and one of the sentences there was the KLA hunted down Serbs who had been involved in the war, as well as collaborators among the other ethnic communities, especially the Turkish and the Roma. And it continues, and even ethnic Albanians they regarded as simply too cooperative with their former Serb oppressors. KLA extremists were determined to chase the Serbs out of Kosovo using violence and terror when necessary. When you wrote the KLA hunted down Serbs, who in the KLA or to whom in the KLA were you referring?
Yeah, we might have reversed the sentences so that the emphasis would be on KLA extremists.
Thank you. Did you consider Agim Ceku or Hashim Thaçi to be among the KLA extremists?
No. In fact, quite the contrary.
Thank you. And you were shown page 105 of your book, admitted as P04496.4, where it's written, although KLA commanders acknowledged that NATO had helped them defeat the Serbs, they felt KFOR was now preventing them from finishing the job, open paren, of driving the Serbs out, close paren. Which KLA commanders were you referring to there?
I would, in that passage, I would have in mind the zone commanders, and some of whom were extremists.
Did you have in mind General Cheku or Mr. Thaçi?
Absolutely not.
Thank you. You were shown page 114, sorry. Let me go to a different topic. Yesterday, you were asked about a part of your book that discusses the formation of the PDK, what would be Mr. Thaçi's
Yes.
political party. And that's at provisional transcript, page 76, lines 20 to 25. You were read the following part of your book there. Quote, in September 1999, the KLA began its conversion to the KPC. Just 3 months later, the Kosovo Democratic Progress Party, PDK, announced its formation as a party with Thaçi as its president. Most of the regional groupings that had served as the KLA's political network were consolidated into the PDK, with the remainder gravitating to the Alliance for the Future of Kosovo, AAK, party of Ramush Haradinaj, the only other senior KLA leader who appeared to harbor political aspirations. Do you recall that part of your book?
I do.
Thank you. I would now like to show you an OSCE report dated 12 July 1999, and this is SITF 000-11454 to 000-11457, please. That's in the queue we released this morning.
The Council is kindly asked to read more slowly for the purposes of interpretation. We don't have the text. Thank you.
And if we could please, you'll see here that it's a OSCE report dated 12 July 1999. If we go to the next page, please. You see here that this report covers the period of 5 to 7 July 1999. And now if we go to the top of the third page, please. We see the following. 2 new political parties have been founded, both claiming to be the political representatives of the KLA. The Movement for the Liberation of Kosovo, LKCK, is headed by Valan Murati. The Democratic Unification Party, PBD, is led by Bardal Mahmuti. This party is an offshoot of the Kosovo Liberation Movement, LPK, which has supported the KLA from abroad, seems to have the support of the majority of KLA leaders. Hashim Thaçi, the leader of the KLA, has so far not indicated his support for either of the 2 new parties. Mr. Covey, were you aware that there were multiple new political parties splintered off from the KLA before your arrival in Kosovo?
You say that correctly. Aware of splintering, yes. Some of the fine points and the alphabet soup of party names and so on, we were not yet well acquainted with.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender this document into evidence. SITF 0001144 to 0001157.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, it can be public.
SITF 0001144 to 11457 is admitted and is reclassified as public.
Thank you, Your Honors. It will be admitted with the exhibit number 1D00422 and is classified public. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Covey, I just have a final few questions for you. You've now been with us for over 2 days, and you've seen many documents, videos, and books. Have you, over the past few days, seen any orders from Mr. Thaçi to anyone in the KLA?
No,
Have you seen any reports from anyone in the KLA to Mr. Thaçi?
reports from KLA persons to Mr. Thaçi?
Yes.
No,
Have you seen anything here which would lead you to question your assessment that Mr. Thaçi was not in a position to prevent or punish crimes committed by KLA members or ex-members?
no. But before we're done, I want to speak to that question of arriving at that kind of judgment.
Now's the opportunity, so.
I understand that some of us present a rather mild appearance. And an unfamiliar observer might wonder whether such a person might be a bit naive, perhaps taken in by clever words. But we, and I include in this Bernard Kouchner and I, are not beginners. We've been in the slang, we've been around the block. By that time I had, was almost 30 years in the Foreign Service. There and elsewhere, including my Army service, we dealt with everything from the extreme warrior culture to some pretty sinister people intent on intimidation, to clever politicians who wanted to figure out how to say what they thought we needed to hear and believe, to the outright liars. As I mentioned yesterday, in my profession, we know from the outset we will never have complete information, and yet we're expected to arrive at judgments that our governments, our presidents, can rely upon. And I think the record shows that over my professional lifetime, I largely met that challenge. And so in Kosovo, we were presented with, in this specific instance, a young, in some ways callow, but very ambitious and very clever young man with political ambitions that were beyond his ability to impose. And we watched with some interest how he navigated this unfamiliar path. No.
Sorry, let me just ask one question that may allow you to complete then your answer.
Yes.
Because my last question to you was, have you seen anything which would now lead you to believe that Mr. Thaçi was attempting to seize power in Kosovo by committing crimes against his opponents, either by personally committing crimes or by having other KLA members or former members commit such crimes?
No. And I think we soon came to the judgment that he did not have the authority, the relationships, the personal authority to get anyone to do that. Moreover, we came to the judgment that he knew he did not have that power, and so embarked on this exploratory career to find a path forward. He was at the same time, whether he, it is not for us to judge whether he truly wished the best for Kosovo, but his ambitions were best served, he figured out, and it was our duty to help him figure it out, that working with UNMIK and the mission it was trying to implement served his interests. That's the best kind of commitment you can ask of a politician, is that doing the right thing also happens to serve the personal interest. And we judged that he was getting there, and I emphasized that that was not a judgment that was reached, I don't believe, in naivete. We had a very clear eye, and we're waiting to see how Mr. Thaçi would reveal himself to us.
Thank you, Mr. Colby, for answering my questions. That concludes my redirect examination. Thank you.
We'll take a 10-minute break. Actually, we'll take a break until 10:15. You may leave the courtroom.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. Ms. Iadici, I understand you have something additional you want to deal with on the email from this morning?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Exhibit P04496, Mr. Covey's book, each page was omitted in different point 1, point 2 exhibits. We would like to request that all pages are combined in one exhibit P04496 and be added in the sequential order of the pages of the book so that it's more readable. Thank you.
Yes, we agree with that proposal.
All right, fine. Thank you very much. So it will be done.
Thank you, Your Honor. In that case, all the pages that were admitted via P04496, P04496.1, point 2, point 3, point 4, point 5, point 6 will be admitted as P04496. This also means that P04496.1, point 2, point 3, point 4, point 5, point 6 will be vacated. Thank you, Your Honors.
All right, we'll have some questions from the panel, but you can bring the witness in, please. Mr. Covey, at this time, we'll have some questions from the panel members, beginning with Judge Barta, who is to my left, your right. Please give him your attention.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Covey.
Good morning.
First of all, thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you.
And the panel, as the presiding judge just said, has a few more questions for you, which we believe are relevant to our assessment of the evidence. And for this purpose, I would like to go through the statement that you gave to the defense and that you signed on 12 August 2025 to clarify some details that are still not entirely clear to us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Covey, I would like to start with your personal background. According to paragraph 2 of your statement, you told the defense that you were appointed in June 1999 by the United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan to serve in the United Nations mission in Kosovo, UNMIK, as the principal deputy to the special representative to the Secretary General Bernard Kouchner. Is that right?
Yes.
And you said, I think that was in response to a question by the prosecution yesterday, that you arrived in Kosovo together with Mr. Kouchner on 15 July 1999, right?
That's correct.
And according to your statement, paragraph 20, you left Kosovo in January 2001. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct. It may have been, it was the end of January, beginning of February, but yes.
Thank you. So you were deployed in Kosovo for around 1.5 years,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Mr. Covey, during the first month of your deployment, let's say until the end of 1999, how often did you personally meet Mr. Thaçi? Approximately.
I would have to guess, but at least a half a dozen times.
Thank you. And how often did you meet Mr. Thaçi in the presence of the regional or zone commanders?
Only once.
There was the meeting you mentioned, the meeting that you had mid-September 1999, where Mr. Thaçi was sitting separately from the other,
Yes, Your
from
Honor.
the zone commanders, right?
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to move on to a different topic. In paragraph 16 of your statement, you made several observations. Among others, you said, according to the statement, which is in front of me under letter C, through your tenure, Mr. Thaçi played a constructive role that helped advance UNMIK's peace-building aims, including by, under Roman 3, routinely sharing attention, power, and credit with figures he had once denounced. And I would like to know from you, Mr. Covey, who do you mean with figures? Are you referring to a specific person or persons?
Absolutely. First and foremost, that would be Mr. Rugova, whom Mr. Thaçi had previously vilified in the most dramatic terms, and initially seemed to bear a considerable animus towards. And over time, and in the great scheme of things, he changed that behavior quite substantially, and in a matter of months was sharing power and attention. We are talking about politicians here, and sharing attention is often extremely difficult. He was sharing power and authority and attention with people, with that particular person that he had previously vilified. I'm not aware that he bore anything like the same animus towards Mr. Chosia, but I was thinking primarily of Mr. Rugova.
Thank you. Mr. Gobi, under letter D, it is said that the KLA, the Kosovo Liberation Army, was, in your view, a highly decentralized and often disconnected movement driven by regional, virtually autonomous strongmen, many notoriously violent and most harboring little to no respect for Mr. Thaçi. Do you remember saying this to the defense?
Yes.
Thank you. And could I ask you, what is the basis for these assumptions? Why do you think the KLA was highly decentralized and often disconnected?
I would say that view came at us from all directions that we had any confidence in, whether it was from earlier OSCE reporting. They had been present throughout the active conflict, from KFOR on a daily basis. And beyond that, I think it was almost an osmotic process. It was a widely held view with which we came to agree.
And Mr. Gobi, who are the strongmen who were driving the KLA? Could you give us one or two names?
Well, certainly we've mentioned Mr. Lushtaku already, and Ramush Hardanai was another, and there you have two radically different sorts of personalities. There were many others, and I'm not, memory does not permit me to just rattle off the cast of characters.
That's fine. Earlier this morning, you were asked by counsel for Mr. Thaçi about extremists who were determined to chase the Serbs out of Kosovo using violence and terror. Do you remember this?
I do.
And you said some of the KLA zone commanders were also extremists. I would like to ask you, who do you have in mind here?
I would certainly put Mr. Lushtaku in that category. And again, I am at a disadvantage. I don't have the cast of the zone commanders at my fingertips, and I would. I'm not the analyst. I would say I was receiving the conclusions of the analysts.
Are you aware of any people, individuals among the zone commanders who were more moderate, not extremists?
Curiously, Ramush Hardanai, who was a fierce warrior, also turned out to be one of the more moderate characters.
I think I'd like to move on to a different topic, namely the meeting that you attended on 16 July 1999, one day after you arrived in Kosovo, the meeting of the Kosovo Transitional Council, KTC, where you said Mr. Rugova was not present because he was in Italy at the time. I'm referring to paragraph 28 of your statement. And you also said that the LDK party was refusing to participate in the KTC. And I would like to know now, do you know why the LDK refused to participate in the KTC? Was it just because of the absence of Mr. Rugova or for other reasons?
We attributed it primarily to Mr. Rugova's absence. I hasten to add that at that moment, on the 16th, I'm not sure we knew where Mr. Rugova was, only that he was not present and probably not in Kosovo. And the LDK, again, in the ensuing days, began to appear confused and rudderless and given to a bit of factional maneuvering and they didn't seem to be able to arrive at a consensus that would permit them to engage the KTC.
Do you know whether the LDK participated in the provisional government of Kosovo?
Are you speaking of the provisional government that was organized at Rambouillet?
Yes.
Yes, that is my understanding. They participated.
Just to be clear on that point, your understanding is that the LDK participated in the provisional government?
Yes, perhaps you could be more precise about what do you mean by participate? That is, my understanding is they agreed to be represented within that body, which always was a bit of a fantasy that never really organized. So I don't know who actually participated in the sense of acting, functioning, administering in an executive function. Am I responding to your question, sir?
Yes, thank you. That's sufficient. I was asking that question because you mentioned tensions between the KLA and the LDK during the war. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I was wondering whether these tensions could have been the reason for, on the one hand, Mr. Rugova not willing to come back to Kosovo, and on the other hand, for the refusal of the LDK members to participate in the KTC.
I don't want to speculate about the motivations of the excuse me, the LDK members other than Rugova. As I said, I had the impression that they were quite rudderless while at the same time maneuvering a bit among themselves. As for Rugova, we learned over time, and this primarily by Bernard Kouchner, who went to see him, that he was quite depressed, perhaps clinically depressed, perhaps, I'm not a doctor, and also quite fearful for his own safety. And a big part of Bernard's efforts, as he described them to me, was to persuade Rugova that he would be secure if he agreed to come back. That was in itself a considerable challenge because, as we've discussed elsewhere, KFOR could not commit to provide a personal protection detail for him, but it could commit to secure the area in which he would be. And we secured that agreement from General Jackson. And on that basis, Rugova came back. Whether he fully understood the distinction or not, I don't know.
You just said Mr. Rugova was fearful for his own safety. Can I ask you whether you know, maybe from conversations you had with Mr. Kouchner, why he was fearful, Mr. Rugova?
Between the conversations with Bernard Kouchner and what we subsequently learned largely from KFOR sources, Rugova's bodyguard had been pretty much wiped out. And I don't know if it's appropriate to go into this because I'm not directly informed of the actions, but KFOR believed that Daoud Haradinaj, the brother of Ramush, was responsible for that attack. Now, we did not know that at the moment. That we came across much, much later. But Rugova had his own views. He had arrived at his own conclusions. And once we learned of the attack and later learned of who might have been responsible for it, it was easier to understand why Rugova was severely concerned for his security.
Was Mr. Daoud Haridinai a member of the KLA? Do you know this?
That is my understanding, that he was a part of one of the lesser, one of the subordinate. To the extent anyone in the KLA was subordinate to anyone else, he was part of the Western unit.
Thank you. I would like to move on to paragraph 33 of your statement, where you discussed, and this was also mentioned here in this courtroom, the killings of 14 Serb farmers at Gracko shortly after you arrived in Kosovo. The killings were on the 23rd of July, 1999. I think it was said in this courtroom on the 22nd, but it was actually on the 23rd of July, 1999. And you said according to paragraph 33 of your statement, that you recall that Mr. Thaçi openly and repeatedly condemned the crimes at Gracko, but neither he nor any other Albanian member of the KTC was willing to sign a joint KTC statement condemning that massacre. Now, Mr. Kovy, do you know why neither Mr. Thaçi nor any other Albanian member of the KTC was willing to sign such a statement condemning the massacre or the killings of the 14 Serbs in Gracko?
No, and I still do not understand it, especially, I think I mentioned in the last few days that we experienced some of these things in a non-linear fashion. Whatever we speculated might have been the reason for none of the Albanian leaders, political, social, media, to sign on to a KTC statement. It later became clear that Mr. Thaçi was speaking in public about the things that we wished he and others had said in the KTC, which I am still puzzled by, that he would take that risk. Rather bold at the time.
So neither Mr. Thaçi nor any other Albanian member of the KTC told you why they were not willing to sign
No,
a joint statement?
no.
Thank you. According to the same paragraph 33 of your statement, you were shown and reviewed an article of the Washington Post, or the English translation, excuse me, I have to correct myself, in the English translation of an article entitled "Thaçi Condemns Murders" from the Albanian daily newspaper, Shekuli, dated July 26, 1999, reporting that Mr. Thaçi condemned the Gracko killings and stated his belief that KLA forces had nothing to do with the murder. My first question, do you remember Mr. Kobe saying this or seeing this article and reviewing this article?
I would have been aware of it at the time. We were trying to monitor the local press, though it was an imperfect process, but we would have been aware in that time frame that he had made such a statement, and it would have added to our puzzlement that no one had been able to make that kind of statement at the time of the KTC meeting.
So you are aware that Mr. Thaçi made such a statement?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you know whether Mr. Thaçi took any steps to find out who was responsible for the killings of the 14 Serbs, whether it was the KLA or not?
No, no, I would not know if he did.
Thank you. I'd like to discuss a different matter with you now, namely the signing or the negotiations that led to the signing of the so-called undertaking
Yes.
by the KLA in June 1999. And this is a reference to paragraph 59 of your statement and what was said in this courtroom as well. And you said, according to your statement, that you were told by senior KFOR officers that they were surprised when Mr. Thaçi signed the undertaking as commander. And I would like to add, because we saw a document, commander-in-chief of UCK, UJK, or KLA. And you also said it was widely understood at the time that General Checo pressed Mr. Thaçi to be the signatory in the helicopter en route to the signing. Do you remember saying this to the defense?
Yes. It was, I don't know the origin of that view, but that is a view that we heard from KFOR. I cannot vouch for the accuracy of it, only that that was what we heard.
You mean the incident in the helicopter that Mr.
Yes,
Checo tried
yes.
to?
I should say at the same time, we speculated that his use of that title was somehow derivative. If he was the head of the provisional government, was he not also the head, and so on. But that was a murky kind of speculation. We did not have, at the time, a coherent explanation of why he signed in that way.
Just that you know why I'm asking the question. We were told, or we heard evidence here in this courtroom, that the initiative for Mr. Thaçi to sign the undertaking as commander-in-chief of the UCK or JK came from among the members, the KLA members present at the negotiations. So what do you say to that, if you can comment, or if you want
At
to
the
comment?
negotiations for the undertaking,
Yes.
I would want to hear more about that view. It does not, I can't quite put that together with what I was able to see and understand over time. It certainly, it does not accord with our judgment in the other direction, that his relations with the KLA field commanders was rather tenuous.
Mr. Kobe, are you aware that Mr. Thaçi was not present during the negotiations, but only Mr. Cheku and the zone commanders, the regional commanders, were present?
I was not specifically aware of that, no. That was, after all, that all took place well before we arrived.
So according to the evidence I was just referring to, the initiative, the proposal or suggestion to wait until Mr. Thaçi arrives came from the regional commanders.
I am a bit surprised.
You're not aware of that?
Not aware of it.
Thank you. Now, to a different topic. In perf 76.
May I ask, in that, I still would like over time to better understand our experience there. Did that evidence suggest that somehow the the KLA zone commanders as a body presented this, or that one or two individuals? Is it such a general, or that somehow it emerged from?
I can't tell you this, Mr. Covey. I'm only here to ask questions, not
Okay, I'm sorry.
to answer questions.
I
Forgive
find,
me if I'm not.
as
if
you
I'm
can
not
see, I find
responding.
it very curious.
Thank you. So let's move on in the interest of time. According to paragraph 76 of your statement, you said that in your assessment, Mr. Thaçi was not a violent person. He had no predisposition to violence. On the contrary, you said Mr. Thaçi feared KLA commanders who were themselves notorious for violence. Do you remember saying this to the
Yes.
defense?
Yes.
And can I ask you, why do you say so? So what's the basis for your assumption that Mr. Thaçi actually feared the zone commanders?
That he feared them? I believe the record shows that even at Rambouillet, he received a direct threat. If he exceeded the tolerance of the zone commanders, he might come to violence himself. But it was more his general demeanor, the way he walked on eggshells, where any relationship with the leaders of the KLA movement were concerned. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, we in my profession, we never have access to full information. We make judgments, but we're making those judgments on the basis of what we see, we hear, but also on our life experience. And I have had some acquaintance with warriors and with mobsters and people who make it their business to gain advantage by violence. And I look at this ambitious 30-year-old political functionary, and I say, that's not him.
Mr. Covey, you said it was more his general demeanor. In other words, Mr. Thaçi didn't tell you that he was afraid of a specific person or of the zone commanders in general.
No, and that is not in itself surprising. Dignity would not permit someone to say that. No, that didn't surprise us, but we felt we could see it, smell it.
Thank you. In the end of your statement in paragraph 81, you said that your observations led you to conclude that Mr. Thaçi had the ambition and goal to become a politician and leader in Kosovo, and he knew he needed to cooperate with UNMIK to get there, and this passage was also read to you earlier today by defense counsel for Mr. Thaçi. I would like to ask you, Mr. Covey, if your conclusion is correct that Mr. Thaçi needed to cooperate with UNMIK to achieve his goals, what makes you believe that Mr. Thaçi's statements against violence and in favor of a multi-ethnic society were not just what the international community, in particular, what UNMIK wanted to hear from him?
I think I could respond in a couple of ways. First, that in the early days, to make any such statement carried with it significant risk. Political risk, certainly, but also personal risk, and that I'm very familiar with from post-conflict settings elsewhere. History is replete with people who suffered for making moderating remarks. So first, to make such a statement at any point in the early days was noteworthy. And second, to have made remarks like that on a number of occasions. If it were just a credentialing exercise so that he could tell us I've said the right thing, it would be easy to be skeptical. But I think the record shows that he voiced these kinds of sentiments in public on the record a number of times in the early days. And that, I have to say, was surprising at the time and welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Covey, do you know what Mr. Thaçi did apart from making statements against violence? Did he, for example, have meetings with local commanders or ex-KLA commanders, or did he submit names of suspects or potential perpetrators to UNMIK or to KFOR, to your knowledge?
No, I'm
or
not.
Did he, let
sorry.
me finish, please. Or did he promise to find out who was responsible for the crimes?
No, nothing along those lines. You're asking specifically, did he go somehow down the chain of into the network of the KLA movement to try to get details or change behaviors? I'm not aware of that, nor would we have been aware, and certainly he never said that. On the other hand, he visited Serb households. Again, one of those things that in another setting might have put a bullseye on his back.
Mr. Covey, you said several times in this courtroom that Mr. Thaçi had no authority and no power and control over the people who were suspected of having committed crimes. What we would like to understand is, if that was the case, why did you or UNMIK contact Mr. Thaçi and ask him to take care of these matters? Why didn't you just go, you and Mr. Kushner, for example, or turn to those? Why didn't you just turn to those who actually had that power and influence over people?
We certainly wanted to encourage Mr. Thaçi to address the issues where.
Excuse me, I'm not hearing you very well.
I'm sorry. Am I too quiet? Is this better? I think my volume is turned up.
My fault.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Remind me where we are, please.
Yeah. No problem. I said, I'll repeat my question. What the panel would like to understand is why, given that you said that Mr. Thaçi had no authority, no power, no influence over people, especially not over people who were suspected of having committed crimes, why did you, Mr. Kushner, and you contact Mr. Thaçi and ask him to take care? Why didn't you just go to those who had such power or influence?
Two things. We had no direct relationship with the leaders of the KLA movement, and that was KFOR's role. Second, we wanted to push Mr. Thaçi as part of learning his way through, trying to see what he could do, what he would do. So he purported to have some position, and if that carried some authority, that would be good. I think we would have been derelict if we didn't at least ask him to do that. but we didn't have a high expectation that he would or could. I think it's that simple.
Mr. Gobi, earlier today or this morning, you were asked by counsel for Mr. Thaçi about the démarche that was also discussed yesterday, I believe, in this courtroom. Remember this?
Yes.
And you said, and this can be found on page 12 of our transcript, today's transcript, that New York, I assume that you were referring to the UN headquarters in New York,
Yes.
right? Expected you to deliver the same message to both Mr. Thaçi and Mr. Cecu. And I was wondering, did you tell New York that there was no point in involving Mr. Thaçi in this exercise as he had no authority, no control over anybody?
No, our relationship with New York was complex. We did not invite instructions from New York. We knew that they lacked a clear understanding of the situation we were facing on the ground. They were subject to pressures that we were not directly. The Secretariat of the United Nations is primarily responsible to the Security Council, where a very, very active, smart, and forceful Russian ambassador had considerable influence. So I'm speaking, of course, of Mr. Lavrov, who was so we were aware that their views on any subject that might generate complaints from the Russian side became very complicated. That reflected itself in the views concerning the DDR, the conversion of the KLA to the KPC. And so we did not really keep them informed. We did not keep them informed, not really. We didn't have a blackout per se, but we did not volunteer information about the negotiations that KFOR was conducting. And we didn't welcome this kind of instruction from them. Elsewhere in the book, you will see a discussion of what we call the little country attitude. It was clear that Mr. Kushner had received a mandate. But it's also clear that he was the only one on earth fully invested in that mandate. Every other player, including the Secretary General, had other interests that needed to be satisfied. And they would always seek some compromise on the mandate that was given specifically to Mr. Kushner. And we were very conscious of that, and so focused on implementing the mandate as we understood it, and to some extent protecting that mandate from others with conflicting interests. So that helps to account for for the way we handled that specific instruction.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gobi, what actually happened is you had that meeting with Mr. or General Cecu,
Yes,
and you said you assumed that Mr. Kushner, but you don't know for sure whether Mr. Kushner met Mr. Thaçi, but you assumed that this was the case, right?
I did assume that, and I have racked my mind to see if I can recall a specific meeting in which he would have done that or a specific conversation. So I still am stuck with the verb assume.
It's no problem. What I would like to know now is why did you meet Mr. Checo, whereas Mr. Kushner met Mr. Thaçi? Was there a specific reason for that? Who decided that, or what was the reason for that decision?
No, I'd have to speculate a little bit. I had a serviceable relationship with Mr. Cheku. Now that the KPC was becoming, at that moment, it was not yet fully activated, but it had now fallen under the aegis of UNMIK. And Mr. Kushner was focused on the larger enterprise of moving the whole of Kosovo towards its democratic future. So there was a bit of role sharing in this. There was no need for both of us to do everything. We could split up. I think that probably explains it as much as anything.
As far as I remember, was it a joint decision, or was that Mr. Kushner's decision?
I think I may have proposed it, but I don't recall specifically.
That's fine. And my final question, then we take a break, I assume. On a completely different topic, do you know whether Serbian paramilitary units were still operating in Kosovo after 20 June 1999? Do you have any information on that?
I do not know that as a fact.
You don't know.
Correct.
Thank you very much, Mr. Colby.
Thank you, sir.
We'll take our regularly scheduled half-hour break at this time, Mr. Colby.
Thank you.
Please do not discuss your testimony outside of the courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
We're adjourned until 11:30.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. In light of the panel's oral order regarding P 4492 MFI, and in light of the ruling we made, we need to clarify the record by vacating one document in line with oral order of transcript dated 30 September 2025, page 27326 to 27327. The panel clarifies that exhibit number P04492 shall be vacated. I'll first ask, is there any objection to doing that? Or do you want to look at it first?
I don't have all the exhibits
Okay.
memorized, so I will.
So
say
I've
that.
read it out.
Yeah.
Everybody just take a quick look at that, and sometime today we'll finalize this. I don't think it's too controversial. You can bring the witness in, please, Madam Court Usher. All right, Mr. Covey, next Judge Matreau, who's to my right, your left of me, will have some questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Covey.
Good morning, sir.
There are 2 or 3 discrete areas that you've been asked about that I want to explore further with you, and I will, if I may, show you some documents and then ask you questions about it.
Yes.
The first one is Exhibit P1223, please. So I think you've seen it before, Mr. Covey. I'll give you a moment to reacquaint yourself with it. But would it be correct that this would be a document that was sent to you and Mr. Kushner?
Yes.
And do you recall seeing this particular document at the time?
I respectfully want to say we saw a lot of documents, so I assume I would have. Perhaps if we scroll down, I will remember something very specific about it, but it is exactly the kind of thing I would have been presented with, yes.
And there's, of course, no problem, sir, if there's something you can't remember to say. So I'll draw your attention to something specific that I want to ask you about.
Yes.
If we can turn to the next page, please. And if we could scroll down the document, thank you, that's enough. And Mr. Covey, I'd ask you to look at the second item with a bolded title, Illegal Acts. Do you see that?
Yes.
And I'll give you a second to read it. I'll read it for the transcript. It says, more and more regional administrations are confronted with illegal acts such as illegal tax collection, extortion, open quote, information sessions, end quote, and illegal evictions. On occasions, they also face uncooperative attitude from the KLA-appointed open quote government, end quote, including verbal attacks on the radio. Regional administrators ask how far can they go in trying to prevent those acts. And then there's a follow-up, GLH, to raise the issue with the SRSG and inform RAs of general policy. Now, my first question is whether you recall receiving this sort of information at the time.
This kind of information we certainly did receive. Yes.
And do you know what follow-up there was in respect of such matters, if any?
I see there is a reference there to JLH, not sure who that is. The DSRSG would have been the deputy for Pillar 2, the Civil Affairs, Tom Koenig. And I don't know what the specific outcome of that consultation would have been, but I can make a more general comment if you wish.
Please.
We are now at this point just over 2 months, I think, July, August, 2.5 months into the process. We do not yet have anything remotely like a joint administration. Our resources on the ground are very limited. Our international police are very few. So we would at that time be fighting for time to begin to deliver the resources and the persuasion that would help the population see where their interests lay. It was extremely frustrating for the regional administrators to be aware of these reports and not have a clear remedy. And so even morale was a challenge at the time.
Did you ever find out who was conducting these illegal tax collection and extortion and having information sessions?
Specifically, did I find out? No. Was it learned at some level? Perhaps. By the same token, I think we saw in an earlier, a document we looked at earlier today, K4's own inability to determine whether these acts were simply criminal acts by a mafia-like local structure or somehow connected with whatever part of the KLA was active in that area, or if it was more centrally located. And certainly at this point in the process, we couldn't know the answers to those questions, but we're very frustrated that we could not simply direct a response.
And do you recall that during the dinner that you, Mr. Kushner, and Mr. Thaçi had on the 18th of July of 1999, Mr. Kushner actually raised that issue with Mr. Thaçi? Do you recall that?
Yes.
We have a record of that, and to expedite things, it's Exhibit P1980. Mr. Kushner is recorded as telling Mr. Thaçi that some of the UÇK's current actions were unhelpful, like government ministers issuing decrees with official seals, and then referring to UN Security Council Resolution 1244 had established very clearly that UNMIK would administer Kosovo during the interim period. Do you remember Mr. Kushner saying that to Mr. Thaçi that evening?
Yes. Yes.
Do you recall what Mr. Thaçi's response to these injunctions was?
In general, yes, that he, in the first instance, he seemed intent on legitimizing the claims of the provisional government of Kosovo to administer Kosovo, which was a direct contradiction to the mandate of the Security Council. He did not, as I would recall it, in any way indicate that he could simply go off and instruct people to behave differently. That didn't seem to be the main thrust of his response.
Did he give any indication that he would comply with Mr. Kushner's requests, whom I understand to be saying that such actions would be contrary to Resolution 1244?
Without attempting to quote him, his general response, in my recollection, would be, well, I'll do what I can, a kind of a temporizing response.
Can the registry please bring up exhibit P3934, please? So, Mr. Covey, I'll get you acquainted with this document. Well, first, let me ask you this, is whether you'd seen this law relating to excise duties and turnover taxes before.
Okay,
Had you seen it before, Mr. Covey?
I don't believe so.
I'll take you through it. It purports to be a law relating to excise duties and for turnover tax. It's dated on this page the 15th of July of 1999. Provisional Government of Kosovo, Ministry of Finance, Pristina. It has an official stamp of the Ministry of Finance to the right, and it says that on the basis of section 13 paragraph 1 of the regulations for the business of the Provisional Government of Kosovo, the Provisional Government of Kosovo issues. And then if you look under section 1, it explains what the purpose of that document is, which is the enactment regulate taxation by excise duties and turnover tax on goods and services, as well as the accounting procedure and the time limit for payment of these forms of taxation. Do you see that?
I do.
And of course, I'm perhaps asking the obvious, but at the time, Resolution 1244 was in force, correct?
Yes,
And UNMIC was operating on the ground.
just barely. This was the day that we arrived.
Now, could we please turn to page 7 of that document? That would be ERN 039414. You will see here there's a section 5 that speaks of penal measures, and I will give you a second to read about those. My first question here is, in your understanding and interpretation of Resolution 1244, did the so-called Provisional Government of Kosovo have the legal authority, A, to impose and collect taxes, and B, adopt so-called penal measures for those who will not comply with regulations?
No, it did not. That as we understood the mandate, it entirely supplanted the so-called Provisional Government of Kosovo. So none of this would have any standing.
Can we please go to the last page of that document? And to the bottom of the page, please. In Albanian as well. Now, as you can see, this item is signed by Prime Minister Hashim Thaçi with the seal of the PGOK Finance Ministry. And he says that this enactment was enacted by the Provisional Government of Kosovo on 23 July 99. Now, that's just 5 days after you've met Mr. Thaçi with Mr. Kushner, is that right?
Yes,
Did Mr. Thaçi ever,
Wait, I'm sorry, 5 days after our, yes, yeah, that's correct.
did Mr. Thaçi ever inform you or Mr. Kushner that he had adopted and signed on behalf of the PGOK a resolution on taxation?
I do not believe he did. He certainly did not, didn't come to my attention, this specific document. May I comment on it?
Please.
We expected that there would be some kind of contest, a push and shove, testing of UNMIC to see if it was capable of administering, if the PGOK could prevail in its ambitions. History is replete with such examples. De Gaulle's exile government in England attempted to a legitimacy. So
I'll stop you there, but just so that I'm clear in my mind, you never learned of that.
no, but we did expect that there would be a kind of continuing contest to see which would be considered legitimate and so on.
And as I understand your evidence, you had told Mr. Thaçi 5 days earlier that you regarded such action as unhelpful, correct?
That is correct. But as a matter of Mr. Kushner, and I was in full agreement, was not in the habit of laying down ultimatums, of forbidding certain things. His behavior, and again, with which I fully concurred, was more to block off routes that were unconstructive and to continue to point to more useful paths.
Can the registry please bring up SITF 000121215, please? Thank you. And Mr. Covey, I'll take you to a relevant part, but it's one of those OSC weekly activity report. This one is dated 16 August 1999, and it covers the period between the 4th to the 10th of August of 1999. And I will ask the registry to please go to page SITF 0001212.8, please. Mr. Covey, if you could focus on the second full paragraph here, starting with the words in Orhauvats. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
It says the following: in Orhauvats, the Human Rights Division received reports that Roma had been summoned and interrogated by UCK members. A letter to the UCK commander had been sent in this respect. Now, my first question is, do you recall during that period, the early part of the month of August, or during that summer, receiving informations that people were being summoned or summoned and detained by people purporting to be KLA members?
I'm aware of that. Yes, we were getting such reports
And
from a variety of directions.
am I right to understand your evidence to suggest that they had no legal authority to do so?
No.
Do you know on whose authority these individuals were arresting and detaining people?
I do not know that it was on any specific authority. We surmised at the time that it was that taken together, these acts could or were motivated by organized criminal interests, perhaps by extremists who were associated with the KLA. We could not. The reports were numerous, and we lacked an investigative apparatus. We barely had patrol policemen.
Did you know that a letter had been sent to the UCK commander about it?
I don't know what that refers to, and this is, after all, this appears to be an internal OSCE document. I don't know that it was even circulated to UNMIC, but I'm not aware. I don't understand that reference to a letter sent. By whom, to whom? I don't know.
But you do remember that Mr. Kushner himself raised the matter with Mr. Thaçi in late July
Raised
1999, yes?
the issue, raised the general issue with him, yes.
And I'm reading, just to help your
Yes, sir.
your memory of the context, it's Exhibit P755. I can bring it up to you, but the record of what Mr. Kushner would have said to Mr. Thaçi is the following. K4 said he was worried about PU elements in black uniforms. I stop here for a second, Mr. Covey. We've been told in this courtroom that PU refers to military police. And then it goes on to say, he, being Mr. Kushner, asked who they were. They had no authority to make arrest. It was kidnapping. He was losing confidence and might have to react. And then it's recorded that Mr. Thaçi's answer was evasive. Do you recall that exchange between Mr. Kushner and Thaçi?
Not vividly, but it conforms to my sense of Mr. Thaçi's response to such issues. Thank you for clarifying what PU meant. It had come up in another discussion, and I didn't understand what the reference was.
Do you recall what Mr. Thaçi's evasive answer was?
Specifically, no. I mean, I can't quote it.
Did Mr. Kushner ask Mr. Cheku to do anything? Because there seems to be no record of him asking Mr. Cheku to act on that.
I don't think Mr. Cheku, remind me of the date, please? Because in August and into September, we did not really have a line to Mr. Cheku. He would become the head of the KPC. That would put him under the aegis of UNMIC. But until that happened, his interlocutors were in KFOR.
I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I believe it was the 27th of July, 99, sir.
Okay,
But
then
I'll be corrected if I'm
Okay,
incorrect.
so I'm only saying that as sort of almost a structural matter, we wouldn't have raised it with Checo. We were not really in touch with him at that point.
Do you recall what, if anything, Mr. Cheku or Mr. Thaçi did or said they would do in response to Mr. Kushner's comments?
As I recall them, and this is a general recollection, Mr. Thaçi's responses were temporizing and vague, and that conformed to, that jibed with our sense that he had very little influence but was reluctant to say so.
Can registry please bring up exhibit P4107? And if we can go to the next page, please. I think it's the next page in both languages. Yes. So I'll give you a second to look at this for yourself, Mr. Covey. This document, you have the original on the left side, is said to have been issued by the Provisional Government of Kosovo, something called the Ministry of Public Order. First, I'll ask you this. Do you know who was the minister of the so-called Ministry of Public Order in late August of 1999?
No. No, I don't know. I note that this appears to have been provided by K4S2, the intelligence side. So I'm not sure we would have seen this
I'll go through the
document.
with
Yeah.
you, Mr. Covey. It bears the stamp of the Ministry of Public Order on the right-hand side top. It has a number. It's dated the 20th of August of 1999, and it purports to be a summons in relation to the municipality of Klina, and it refers to an informative talk, which we've seen a moment ago, if you recall, in a document I've just shown to you. And under the label remark, it says, in the event of a failure by the summoned person to respond to this summons, the public order police bodies are compelled to bring him or her by force pursuant to legal norms and regulations. Now, assuming for a second that the documents is what it purports to be, Mr. Covey, was a Ministry of Public Order in late August 1999 authorized under Resolution 1244 to summons and, if necessary, to detain a person in the manner described here?
No, absolutely not.
Were you informed at the time that these sorts of things, people presenting themselves as representative of the PGOK, were making or issuing such summonses?
We heard reports of detentions. I do not personally recall detentions that were specifically attributed to the ministry. And with this as an example, it looks as if it was written at the municipality level, but we did not recognize the authority of the PGOK or its minister or ministry or at any level to enforce such a summons.
Thank you, Mr. Covey. Those were my questions. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Covey.
Judge Gaynor?
Thank you, Judge Smith. Mr. Covey, you were shown a cable which was attached as Exhibit 4 to your statement to New York, and attached to it was an unmake note for the file of your meeting with Mr. Thaçi on the 18th of July, 1999.
Yes.
And in that note it says, quote, on 18 July, the leader of the UCK, Hashim Thaçi, invited the SRSG and Jock Covey to a 3-hour dinner at his residence, unquote. Do you remember that?
I do, and I find that wording a little unfortunate in the light of what we established later.
So did you consider Mr. Thaçi to be the leader of the KLA?
It was the title he asserted, but which we found to be rather a hollow claim.
Okay, now,
This is the report of our meeting at the dinner meeting with
yes, it is
Bernard
residence.
Kushner and me,
Or-
and okay,
yeah.
and our very excellent note taker Axel Dittman. The characterization at the time, I did not pick up on the title of leader of UCK. If I had reviewed it carefully, I would have titled it differently.
And
But-
in another exhibit to your statement, Exhibit 8 is a press article from Shekuli, and it contains these words: the leader of the Kosovo Albanian army said on Saturday that he doesn't hold any responsibility for the murder of 14 Serbian farmers. Hashim Thaçi, the leader of the KLA and head of the region's interim government, condemned the murders. There we see, for what it's worth, a news article
Yes.
using the same expression, the leader of the KLA, to refer to Mr. Thaçi.
And that is precisely the tension that we were trying to resolve in our own minds, that whatever his assertions, was he, as a practical matter, the commander? And we, without specifically attempting to refute that in his presence, we concluded that that was an empty claim.
Now, on that note, you said earlier today that you had no direct relationship with the leaders of the KLA movement. So for the record, could you clarify who you mean when you say the leaders of the KLA movement?
With that, yes, sir. That phraseology would refer to the leaders of the KLA movement in the field, the so-called field commanders or regional zone commanders.
So you, by the expression leaders of the KLA movement, you mean the zone commanders and nobody else?
Generally speaking, yes. I'm sorry that at the time we may have been a little sloppy in our designation.
Now, I want to return to the point which you've made very clearly, that as a diplomat you never have full access to information, but you must provide
Yes.
judgments and you must provide information to your capital, and I fully understand that. I want to clarify your evidence on what information you did have access to. Did you have access during your service in Kosovo to internal KLA communications from 1998 and 1999, whether at the zone command level or the general staff level or the brigade level or the battalion level?
I don't believe at that early stage we had that information, and later no, I don't believe we had that
So
information.
you never had the opportunity to review that?
But internal
Yes,
KLA,
internal.
I don't believe so.
You've given some evidence on retaliatory violence against Serbs. That's why I don't want to return to that. I want to focus on a separate issue, which is allegations of crimes committed against persons held in KLA detention in 1998 and 1999. Now, I understand from your evidence you were very busy implementing Resolution 1244. You were focused on stabilizing the security situation. You were focused on setting up functional institutions of government. It was an extremely busy and complex time for you. Am I right in understanding that looking into crimes in detention, which may have been committed in facilities run by the KLA, was not a focus, was not a part of your work?
I think the right word is focus. Certainly we would not write it off as not being part of our work, but we could only focus on so many things at a time, and that was not a... we didn't have the investigative apparatus. We didn't have even the administrative apparatus to stay in touch with those kinds of developments. May I just, as a footnote, say I wish at the time we had been more careful with our titling. You spoke of or referred to prisons run by the KLA. I don't know if they were run by the KLA as an organization or they run by a local leader who had his own sense of authority, or was run by some individual who just cloaked himself in the KLA. But they were attributed to the KLA.
And is it right that you simply didn't have the resources to answer those very important questions that you've just raised? Were they run by the KLA? Or
that is correct. We absolutely did not have the resources to run those things to ground.
Those are all of my questions. Thank you, Mr. Goethe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Gaynor. Follow-up questions from the SBO? I'm sorry.
I think
looking
we
in the
go
wrong
first,
place.
but could we take a break so I can take instructions from my client?
Yeah, we'll take 10 minutes.
Thank you.
And I would,
We'll give you a 10-minute break.
okay.
Unscheduled.
Okay.
We'll be adjourned until 12:20.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. Please bring the witness in. Mr. Misitich will have some follow-up questions following up the judge's questions. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Covey, I only have 2 or 3 questions for you. You were asked by Judge Bartha at transcript page 44 to 45 why you didn't just contact those who had power and influence. Do you recall that question?
Yes.
Did you attend JIC meetings?
The Joint Interim Council,
Yes.
I must have, but I don't have a clear recollection of which ones I would have.
Okay. At those JIC meetings, were the zone commanders present?
Oh, you're talking about, I'm sorry, you're talking about Mike Jackson's meetings.
Yes.
I attended some. Yes. So your question?
Were the zone commanders present at those meetings?
I'm trying to picture it in my mind, and I confess I do not picture them there, no.
Okay. So then you wouldn't know whether in those meetings with General Jackson where you were present, if there were issues that needed to be addressed with the zone commanders, it could have been done there, because you don't have a recollection.
No, but in any event, those were General Jackson's meetings.
Okay.
And they were for a specific purpose, and that was to negotiate the outcome of the understanding.
Okay. And was Mr. Thaçi at those meetings?
I never recall him being at the meetings until the one we have described in detail, the final meeting.
Okay. And this is a related question, and Judge Gaynor asked you what you knew about the KLA internal functioning. And again, this is a question, my follow-up is on related to that, which is why were the zone commanders necessary at meetings like the last JIC meeting? What information are you aware of, if any, about the necessity for the zone commanders to be present?
Oh, we were by that time, KFOR was by that time smack up against the deadline for resolving the undertaking. And that required some kind of consensus from the leaders of the KLA movement. And so I took without examining the notion that it was essentially a plenary meeting at which their consensus would be somehow given. So they needed to be present to sign on.
Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Dixon, anything?
Thank you, Your Honor. No questions arising.
Mr. Roberts? I'm sorry, Mr. Tully?
No problem, Your Honor. Thank you, and no questions.
All right, Mr. Ellis?
No questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. SPO, any follow-up questions?
No, Your Honor.
You'll be glad to know that you are finished.
With your permission, sir, may I make one further brief comment?
No, because there's no way to back it up with more questions, so we're finished now.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing your information with us. We wish you well.
Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
We've got a few minutes. You had indicated that the defense teams together wanted to address something in the nature of our schedule.
Yes, Mr. President. I just wanted to alert you now, and I've consulted with all of the other members of the defense team. It is not going to be possible in the current schedule for us to not only finish by the 14th, but then file any residual motions in that week after, which we will do. but then also to have our final brief filed by the 22nd of December. So we will anticipate filing a joint request to extend that deadline. Before we do that, we've spoken to the prosecution and said we will consult inter partes with them to see if the parties at least can reach an agreement before we approach you on a request for an extension.
Thank you for the information. Anything else from anybody?
Your Honours, there is one further matter just in relation to timing as well, and it's not obviously for Your Honours, but to indicate that there are a number of appeals outstanding which go to the evidence which has to be obviously taken into account then to the extent that it is admitted for the stages ahead and the final brief. I'm referring to appeals in relation to the forensics intercepts and a particular Rule 155 witness. There are others as well. So we just wish to highlight that that's also important to take into account when looking at the timing so that those decisions are rendered and we know what the effect of them is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're adjourned.
All rise.